WrestleZone presents Lost in the Midcard. Here are your hosts, Jeremy Bennett and Matt Black.
We're here.
Yeah! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new era in more ways than one. It is Lost in the Midcard. Our debut on WrestleZone. We are here without a hitch. One week we were on Believe. Unfortunately, Believe no longer operating, so we have immediately moved on to WrestleZone. I'd like to thank WrestleZone for being able to host this podcast. These two guys that have been doing this almost 9 years now. Hard to believe.
It's been a long time.
About 400 episodes, I would say we've probably done. We're probably getting close to 400. I would say
probably closer, probably than further away.
Yeah, exactly. And the chat hot to say. I'd like to see everybody in the chat there. MK saying he likes the new intro. Appreciate it. I put that baby together a couple of days ago. So is very glad you guys like that. If you have not done so already, make sure you are subscribed to WrestleZone and hit that bell icon so you know we go live. We go live every Monday, roughly 7:10 Eastern, 6:10 Central, depending on. I basically come from work from one job right to the other here, so sometimes it might be a couple of minutes late, but right around the 6:10 Central, 7:10 Eastern time zone, we're going to be live here for you every week for Lost in the Midcard, leading you up to Monday Night Raw. Of course, little did we know coming in, there was going to be some craziness happening on Saturday. But first of all, I'd like to thank everybody in the chat that is joining us. Lots of people already pre-gamed in the chat for us all the way. I see Ozzy in there. I see Craig in there. Mark Cho, the man responsible for our graphics. So thank you, Mark Cho, for the updated graphics for Lost in the Midcard. Really appreciate the work you put into that. MK, of course, is with us every week, so I'd like to see it. And some new faces to the podcast. If you're new, welcome. I see Patricio and Benjamin in the chat as well. I cannot click the chats individually, so welcome to the show here. We're going to be doing this each and every week, leading you up to Monday Night Raw, as we always do. And boy, what a time to be alive in pro wrestling. But first, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Jeremy Bennett. You can find me on the Twitter at JB Huskers. And as always, my co-host, he is on the Twitter at Raw F Showtime, Mr. Matt Black. Matt, how you doing?
What's up, everyone? Man, it's been a crazy weekend. I didn't think we'd have this much to talk about coming out of Survivor Series, but man, I was wrong.
Whoa. Well, like MK said in the chat, so what do you want to talk about? Well, let's just talk about our lead. And our lead is a guy named Phil. There he is. That guy right there. Making fools out of all of us, especially on Lost in the Midcard. We were basically saying there ain't no chance this is happening. No way. Too many people don't want to hear about it, don't want to see it within the company. And sure enough, coming at the end of what was an impressive War Games match that also saw Drew McIntyre storm off. That also got the internet buzzing. We'll talk about that later. But Cult of Personality hits in Chicago. Chicago erupts. Sure enough, there is Phil Brooks coming out. Matt, when you heard a Cult of Personality, what was going through your mind?
Part of me thought that it was happening earlier on in the show, because when they did that first backstage segment with them teasing that Randy hadn't been there yet, and I'm like, why would they set themselves up for CM Punk chants all night? They know what doing an angle like this would cause. And I was like, Like, why? What do you have to benefit from this? And I tweeted that out because I didn't want to be the one to say it and look like an idiot. But I was thinking in the back of my mind, like, this seems like more of a possibility now than I would have ever imagined, even a week ago. When they set themselves up for something like that, that's not something Triple H technically does. He's normally smart enough to try to avert those expectations. So to set it up that night in Chicago, where Randy's not here yet, I wonder who the fifth man is going to be. I'm like, man, did they really get him? And they got him.
A little column A and a little column B. We'll talk about Randy Orton's return to the company after almost 2 years off in a little bit. But man, that was something. And I saw a comment earlier in there. Seth wasn't happy. Yeah, I think that's a little bit of a working into or shooting into a work, so to speak. I don't think Seth likes CM Punk so much. They're not best friends or buds or anything like that. But I think Seth knows there's a lot of money in making that seem like it's real and transforming this into potentially, I would say this could be a WrestleMania main event night one type of deal, possibly CM Punk and Seth Rollins. Now, of course, one of Punk's main contentions upon leaving WWE was he had never main evented WrestleMania. And then I saw someone say in a comment on Facebook, is like, well, what if he doesn't main event night 2? Is he going to complain? It's like, well, I don't know. You think Punk would be happy with a night 1 main event spot, Matt?
Here's the thing. We've been talking on this podcast in particular since the AEW termination happened. We've been saying TNA Wrestling, Impact Wrestling is CM Punk's best chance for redemption.
Yep.
Because he would have to go in there for a year, prove that he could play ball, prove that he could be mature and responsible, and then maybe WWE would look into bringing him back. And we heard over the weekend following his return in Survivor Series that TNA offer was on the table. A very real big money offer was on the table for Punk. Something tells me, had WWE not gotten this deal done for Survivor Series, we probably would have seen CM Punk at Hard to Kill.
Yeah.
So, I think WWE realized it's now or never for this thing. If we want to bring him in now, Chicago, it's the perfect time, and they did it. I also question if AEW and New Japan working together to keep Will Ospreay away from WWE by getting him signed to a new deal before his New Japan contract was even up could have placed WWE in the position of, we lost Jay White thanks to Vince. We just lost Will Ospreay. Adam Copeland's over there now. We need to get people talking about who we can sign. And it just happened to be that same week, and all the planets aligned, and hot damn, CM Punk's back in WWE. So
yeah, it's insane. Let us know in the chat what you think about the return of CM Punk in WWE. He is going to be on Raw tonight. No word if he's opening Raw, but I would assume either opening Raw or
reports are suggesting that Orton's opening and Punk is closing.
Yeah, I was going to say either open or close would be a good bet to see there. Let us know in the chat what you think. Let's run down a lot of stuff to talk about CM Punk that mainly came from Fightful Select. Of course, CM Punk returned to at the end of the show. It was kept closely guarded and put together secretly. Fightful was told on November 19th that CM Punk and Triple H had a very productive hour-long conversation that mended fences between the two. So that was roughly a little less than a week before Survivor Series. Word from Punk's side of that conversation reflected what Triple H had said in the post-show press conference. Fightful had posted in the FAQ that Punk claimed there were conversations. To clarify at the time, the Punk Triple H conversation was a single source, not appropriate to run. So they did not run with that, since you always got to have two sources. Number one rule of journalism. Triple H confirmed Fightful's previous report that talks had not happened between the two until rumors heavily died down. until it actually looked like a deal was not happening. At the post-show presser, Triple H said any reports of a deal prior was just speculation. Came together very quickly. WWE confirmed the official agreement happened, and sources near Punk claimed that as of Saturday morning, no contract was signed. So very last-minute type of deal. Punk told select people close to him that his return was happening. Minutes before Punk appeared, a section of backstage was cleared out, but Punk was not hidden. He was seen in plain sight. They were told Triple H took over producing the show at that point, called for the copyright graphic, an old NXT takeover trick, showing the graphic, thinking the show's over. But then call to personality hit. Producers, referees, staff, talent, and head writers on the creative team were not told. I heard, now which side is true on this? I heard that wrestlers knew about it before the match.
The reports state that the people in the main event were told right before the main event.
Okay.
So,
but obviously the majority of everybody left.
Which is why Drew stormed out before Punk even made his entrance.
Yeah.
Drew got out of there before the entrance even happened.
Yeah. Which is another thing we got to talk about. Kind of interesting though, because he was being filmed, and if you look at the look at the cameraman, he gave Drew a cue to walk on by. So I mean, I don't think there's much to read into that. Who knows? It was kind of interesting. Had a little cue, little come on now, Drew, because we knew the camera was on him. They say that Drew McIntyre was visibly upset backstage, leaving the venue, slamming the locker room door, and cursing as he left. But again, he was cued to storm out in front of the camera in the arena. So again, I don't know. It's hard to tell what is being real and what's not being real at that point. WWE reiterated that any perceived references from the likes of Shinsuke Nakamura in his vignettes, anything like that, were just all coincidence. None of it was in reference to Punk himself. And one source even close to Punk said nobody's claiming that they knew the situation fully. So all the Nakamura stuff was there. A lot of people were speculating.
It could turn into a Punk thing if they wanted to.
Could,
but I mean, it wasn't originally designed for CM Punk. Whatever the original intention was, it wasn't for CM Punk. And I don't know how overly excited the fan base would be if Punk's first feud back in WWE was with Nakamura. Because no offense to Nakamura, but the dude hasn't been treated like a top main event guy.
Maybe if he won the world title from Rollins.
Yes. If he had won the world title from Rollins and he'd spent the last couple weeks calling out a mystery dude, and now Punk's back, that works out perfectly. But since he's basically been feuding with the Alpha Academy every week, is that really a guy who you're pairing up with CM Punk in his first WWE feud back? It does. To me, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
No. And Rollins, I mean, hell, you got to save that. I would assume both men are going to be in the Rumble, so they could continue to put fuel on that fire in the Rumble match itself, leading to a WrestleMania main event, possibly. I don't know. We'll see. More information from Fightful, as there was a lot of stuff that came out in regards to Punk's. I mean, I think 3 Patreon posts and even 2 free posts that followed even today. There's a lot of stuff about Punk. Drew McIntyre, it was said that his storming out was related to things more broader than CM Punk. Fightful is going to work to find out more on the situation. As for Seth Rollins, most people in the company believe he does not like CM Punk, but is wise enough to capitalize by working heavily. As I just mentioned, there's money in this, and Seth Rollins knows that. So working with your enemies sometimes does pay off. Those they spoke to claimed that Vince McMahon was not involved in the decision of bringing Punk back. It was a complete call by Nick Khan and Triple H. Vince McMahon shot the idea down of bringing Punk back to the company when Fox wanted him for SmackDown. I'm assuming that was around the time that Talking Smack was probably a thing on FS1 when Punk made his return to Fox in a WWE program, but not officially a WWE contract at the time, several years back when they had that show with Renee Paquette. For those asking about AEW reactions, there's been almost none from what they've heard of. There's talk that Punk will be a free agent, so that's why you're going to see him on Raw, probably on SmackDown this week too. Much of Raw was already planned without Punk, so now there's a lot of rewriting going on. Be interesting to see. The rest of the stuff is pretty much just kind of reiterating what has been said with Nakamura and with Punk and Triple H. All the conversations have basically happened within the last week. PW Insider noted that Punk was made an offer by TNA, which Hard to Kill would be probably the rightful place to do it, Matt, because that's the debut of TNA right there, or the return of TNA.
The reports that there was actually some hope that they'd had the deal done in time for him to debut a Bound for Glory, but that clearly didn't work out, and they could have beat WWE to the punch, had they maybe gone at him a little harder.
Yeah,
but I think if Survivor Series would have come and gone, and he didn't go back to WWE, I think we could be living in another world where CM Punk would have been debuting for TNA Wrestling, well, re-debuting because he was there like almost 20 years ago at Hard to Kill in January. But
yeah,
shoulda, woulda, coulda. He's back in WWE, which is so fucking weird to say. It's so weird to say CM Punk is back in WWE. Freaking wrestling is wild, man.
A comment going back to the chat here, a comment earlier by Vincent. I think TKO group played a role in as well. Actually, Sean Ross Sapp reported many within TKO actually found out while watching Survivor Series.
Triple H said that during the media scrum. Yeah. He said the only two people that knew were him and Nick Khan. Him and Nick Khan put the deal together. And he said he's sure anybody at TKO that was watching the show was surprised when the man's music hit.
Exactly.
So I don't know how much we have to worry about now about WWE having issues signing and re-signing talent if they're allowed to just go ahead and sign a big money, I'm assuming a big money deal with CM Punk and not confer with anybody in TKO about it. When they went and did it, to me, that says all the questions about money and re-signing and stuff for talents next year aren't going to be a problem. I think the new problem is which talents are going to want to leave now that CM Punk is part of the WWE roster, because I think that plays significantly into things next year.
I'm sure Nick Khan probably had conversations with high level TKO officials about it. So there was maybe an unofficial or two about it, but the majority of TKO employees surprised. Steven Chambers, a regular on Lost the Midcard, thanks for coming over here. He says, wonder if Drew will be all elite by All In. I have said all along on this podcast that I've expected Drew to leave the company. Now it looks even more interesting after this whole storm out. I don't know. But I've stuck to my guns thinking he's going to leave the company this year or after his contract's up at the end of the year. So I don't know. I'm still sticking with those guns. He also said first hour of Raw commercial free tonight, along with Ozzy there. Michael Caroni in the chat, give him a few months or years. Well, yeah, obviously. And that's what Matt was saying. And we've said this on the podcast a long time of why we thought he was going to Impact as kind of a, can you still behave and not be a cancer like you were in AEW? Can you get it? Can you go a year or two without any drama? And so we thought that may be the case, but obviously now with the new regime, WWE, obviously a more rigid management base than AEW, I think Punk realizes he can't do anything that he did in AEW or he did in 2014. It's a whole new era, and this is basic. He may even be on a one strike basis. We don't know, but
yeah,
Benjamin in the chat,
what the contract looks like.
Benjamin in the chat wondering if AJ Lee will join him in WWE. I would love to see her get back into pro wrestling. I don't know if she ever.
I think even if it doesn't mean a return to the ring, I feel like a Hall of Fame induction could be all but secured and guaranteed at this point. with the women that they've already inducted over the years, I think AJ Lee is a no-brainer to be put in the WWE Hall of Fame next year as soon as Philadelphia, if they wanted to.
And right above that, Steven saying Punk stealing Cody's spotlight. Cody may go to SmackDown. Obviously, the seeds have already been kind of sown about Cody getting involved with the Bloodline. There's got to be some way of Cody getting to Roman by WrestleMania. So it may not have to necessarily be winning the Rumble now at this point either. So who knows?
I've made the argument that Cody should have been moved to SmackDown months ago. So I mean, if
the trade with LA Knight,
I mean, if this is the thing that moves him over,
or not LA Knight, Jey Uso.
Uso, if this is the thing that ends up moving him over to SmackDown, I do not have a problem with that. So,
Frantic World, thanks for moving over with us, another regular on the show, along with Ryan Johnson, again another regular on the show. Thanks for joining us. Ryan does say in the chat, do you know when Drew's contract is up? Early 2024.
I heard the reports are sometime around WrestleMania. But you also need to keep in mind he also took several months off after WrestleMania this year, and there's always the likelihood of WWE tacking that time on to the end of his deal, which could put him past this year's WrestleMania. But regardless, I think he would still, his deal would still be up in time for, like, say, All In. So
yeah, a couple comments down from that. Mark Cho. I wonder how hard 2K is working to get him into 2K24.
They have to. It's a Bray Wyatt situation.
Has he been in a 2K game before?
2K15. He was the story mode. Remember?
So it's not like you got to completely build him from scratch, probably.
Well, it's been 8 years and technology's changed greatly. But I mean, I'm sure you can use some of the basic pieces and properties you had back then and gear it up for the new game. I don't see him being on disc, but I do see him being DLC. So I don't think they can get away with not having him on there.
Our old friend Extreme Gamer Scott, thanks for joining us. If she couldn't take bumps for real, if she can't take a bump, then I guess I didn't know she still couldn't do that, couldn't wrestle. So, and loves the new layout. Well, props to Mark Cho on that. Mark Cho. Doing a lot of the layout work for us there. And I put together the theme song. I'm pretty happy with that one too. So we give ourselves a new little look for our new home here at WrestleZone. So thanks for joining us here, man. Ozzy always talking about, we usually do NFL talk, but this is kind of a weird week because of CM Punk. And so we didn't really get into fantasy football talk or anything this week. Which is odd, but of course, when CM Punk comes back to WWE, there's a lot to talk about with that. MK in the chat, does WWE have a babyface problem? Not enough heels, and I don't know, so to speak. I mean, Judgment Day are obviously the top heel on Raw, and Bloodline top heels on SmackDown. Of course, the top heel of that just shows up when he wants to. So I don't I don't know.
Well,
but do you think
this sounds problematic?
Oh yeah, that'll be interesting. Another pipe bomb coming.
As far as I know, he signed a non-disparagement contract with them before coming back to Front Collision. So he better be very careful what he chooses to and to not say, because he might be on the receiving end of a lawsuit if he's not careful tonight.
What do you think about the question right there that you just added up there?
Does WWE have a babyface problem? No, I don't think WWE has a babyface problem at all. I think, honestly, a part of the reason for WWE's surge in popularity right now is because of their staggering amount of top main event baby faces that they've cultivated and developed over the past 2 years. I think that's huge. And I think that has a lot to do with why they're so successful right now.
And Tony, the comment right below, breaking news, QT Marshall leaving All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah, he announced his resignation on Twitter like minutes before we went live. So he'll be finishing up. He'll be gone by the end of the year. So
I wonder if he's gonna come over to WWE, not necessarily on camera, but maybe to help out Performance Center wise.
He's one of Cody's best friends. Like
Also, he's like also the main
it
guy
would
at the Nightmare Factory.
it would be shocking for me just for him to leave AEW. It would be shocking for me to say that he would not be heading to WWE to work with Cody.
Yeah.
So I think that's a foregone conclusion right now.
More stuff on Punk. Those within WWE claim it's a multi-year agreement. There's yet to be a confirmation on that. So then there's some more.
There's so much.
There's
so much.
As for AEW, Tony Khan seemed more concerned Saturday about losing Katsuyori Shibata than CM Punk heading to WWE. Of course, Shibata lost the Pure title to Wheeler Yuta thanks to a kick in the dick on the end of Rampage, though, wasn't it? Oh yeah, that's right. That was all.
Yes,
that was all
Rampage
one night
on Saturday night. Yeah,
that's right. Because I was gone Saturday, so I watched Rampage.
Part of a 3-hour Saturday night block.
Do you think that they're trending towards a combination of Rampage and Collision?
No.
Okay.
Not a chance.
Well, if Shibata heads back to Japan, man, it was a good run with the Pure title in Ring of Honor for the several months that he held that there. Wheeler Yuta becoming a 3-time Pure champion now. Yeah, I don't know, Extreme Gamer. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, obviously he still is running, helping run the Nightmare Factory, so he might just be focusing on that full time. Seth was, I think he does not like Punk, but he's overshooting that into a work.
Yeah, I agree. And I think he's a genius to do it. He knows there's money to be made there. Might as well do it.
There were top WWE talent asking some in AEW if Punk was involved in the Devil storyline. Punk never was discussed for that. While Punk's appearance was kept closely secret in WWE, Punk told at least a couple of close friends that it was happening. So he was not mentioned at all in regards to the Devil storyline, which if you've been with us, you know that we both firmly believe the Devil is Adam Cole, baby. WWE ended up using renders from Punk's last run on the company, including the Raw graphic that you saw for tonight, because well, this was all last minute. So they used the Titantron from the last run. Was that a remixed version of? And I heard that. Cult of Personality got redone. That sounded like a redid version.
They released a remaster, which they actually did several years ago for the Guitar Hero franchise.
Yeah,
and they just recently re-released it on Friday. You know, kind of.
Is that what they played though?
Seems hilarious now. That's what people were saying.
It sounded different.
Yeah, so they.
Well, I mean, I've sang that song dozens of times at karaoke, so I know the music like the back of my hand. That did sound a little different, but of course you never know. Crowd was insane, you know, so it's hard to tell. But Tony Khan says, like Matt was kind of alluding to, he can't talk about CM Punk returning to WWE. He says, quote, "I can't talk about that, nor I think it is the time or place. I appreciate you asking. I'm very excited about All In at Wembley Stadium. Not to dodge or duck your question. It's just something I can't legally talk about." So that is interesting when asked about that. And then, of course,
who asked him that?
That was in. I just lost it. Let me see who asked.
I just want to properly credit whoever asked that question because this is the first I'm hearing it. They're saying something in the chat saying the BBC.
It might be
an interview with the BBC in the UK.
There we go. I got it back. Yeah, Steve Herman of BBC West Midlands.
Hey, props him for asking the question.
Yeah, it was to promote Wembley's ticket
for the on sale pre-sale that started today. No, look. Props for asking the question, but not surprised by the response.
And then Seth Rollins at a house show last night got on the microphone at the end of the show and said, "I'm not going to waste breath on anyone who has been gone and tried tearing WWE down." So that was kind of what some people were alluding to in the chat, was at that house show last night. So, of course, the crowd started chanting CM Punk at the end of it too, with Seth in the ring. So they knew Seth was overly pissed at the end of Survivor Series. So they decided to throw some fuel on the fire. All right. We only have about 18 minutes till we get to Monday Night Raw. Let's move on and let's talk about what happened all before CM Punk decided to crash the party. Saturday was, of course, one of the major pay-per-views of the year, Survivor Series, and for the second year in a row, War Games for the second year in a row. Matt, I think we will be in agreement that this was basically a 2-match show with a very good Intercontinental title match and a couple of matches that probably could have been on Raw.
I honestly, I think all three of the middle matches could have been something you could have seen on any given Raw or SmackDown. The show was all about the beginning and the end, the women's War Games, the men's War Games, and the return of Randy Orton and CM Punk. And honestly, it's clearly all you needed, because that all anybody's talking about is the final, final minutes of Survivor Series anyway.
Yeah.
So
kicking off with the women's War Game match, Damage Control taking on Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, Shotzi, and Becky Lynch. Io Sky doing her usual torpedo with a trash can on her. Always a fun spot when she does that. Absolutely loved that spot. Here's the interesting part, Matt. Bayley really didn't cost the match. She took the bullet. But are they going to see it that way? But are they going to see it that way? Yep. She took everybody's finisher after taking a spear by pushing Io Sky out of the way. She took the bullet and then took everybody's finishers for the end. But yeah, I mean, we basically predicted how that was going to go down. Bayley taking the loss.
Both self-appointed leaders for their respective War Games matches lost.
Yep.
They both took the pin for their team. Priest took the pin and Bayley took the pin. And while it wasn't, Bayley's fault and several other people could have gotten pinned before her had she not staved them.
Yep.
Damage Control wasn't going to care about that because they've been low-key planning to boot her from the get-go.
And that makes and this performance by Bayley, and Michael Cole even said it on commentary, Bayley was probably having the best performance out of everybody in that match. And so that's really going to propel her into babyface stardom once she gets kicked out of the group. And I've been saying it on the show for a long time. We feel and I think Matt agrees with me. We may be heading towards Bayley Io Sky at WrestleMania for the title, maybe even Royal Rumble if this gets accelerated.
I would imagine it'll happen before then. I don't expect Sky to hold that title going into WrestleMania.
Yeah, I really like how they presented Bayley though, we haven't seen her as a babyface in so long. A little bit of a babyface when they returned at SummerSlam in 22, but I don't see Bayley getting the boot. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see, and I'm excited for the story. So was Regal and Punk really?
Yeah, they had that backstage scuffle when Punk joined AEW, because Punk didn't shake his hand or something, and they got heated about it. So.
Yes, Haskell, we did mention that broke about literally as we went on the air. QT Marshall posting on Twitter that he is resigning from AEW. We talked about possibilities of maybe going to WWE and maybe helping out in the Performance Center and things like that. Since obviously he's been a major catalyst in the Nightmare Factory. Benjamin says, "How about the Four Horsemen?" I've seen some people talk about a potential of Sasha going back to WWE. I mean, I obviously since Hell froze over with CM Punk going WWE, now it seems like all bets are off, right, Matt?
You can't rule anything out. Look, I expected her to go back eventually, but I don't really want to see her go back right now. I feel there's so much left for her to do outside of WWE. Like, the door's open for WWE. She can go back whenever she wants.
Yep.
So for me, I just feel like going back now instead of finishing what she started in New Japan and doing a run with AEW and maybe doing something with Trinity and in TNA. I just think I think it would kind of hamper her run as Mercedes Moné, because I don't know if WWE would let her come back and be that.
No.
I feel like they've put all the money and investment into Sasha Banks. So if she's coming back to WWE, she's probably going to be Sasha Banks again. So I don't know. I feel like the door to WWE is open for her anytime she wants to walk through it, and I'm hoping she's not ready to do that just yet. So
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I thought Gunther and Miz was a great match. They've had a good build too to that, but I mean, we all knew Gunther was going to retain. Santos
there was no
Dragon Lee,
question there.
yeah, Santos Dragon Lee, that was put together so hastily. It was originally going to be him and Santos and Carlito again, a match that just kind of. I mean, obviously they've been feuding and whatnot, but it was kind of weird, the Great War Games match the women had. The Gunther and Miz kept that crowd. That crowd didn't come down until Santos and Dragon Lee, and then by then you could tell that was kind of coming down until the men's War Game match. Rhea Ripley, Zoe Stark, another one we all knew that was going to happen. So then the men's War Game match. Obviously, the whole story throughout the entire evening was Randy going to be joining the team? We all know by the end of it he did, and holy shit, is he jacked?
He's looking
My
good, man.
God. Holy shit.
He's ready to go. I saw a lot of jokes online that said Randy Orton at Survivor Series, and they were showing off the WWE All Stars character
Yeah,
model from him
that
from
was good.
back in
That
like
was good.
2014. I'm just like,
Yeah,
that's funny. All right.
that was a good whoever did that, whoever came up with that, props
Yeah.
to them. Probably my favorite spot in the match was lawn darting JD McDonough into an RKO. That was pretty good. Obviously, it's pretty cool to see JD in a good match like this as well. The Judgment Day fall. A lot of talk about Priest becoming a babyface, breaking away from the group. You think that's going to start to get a little louder now that he took the
I think
loss?
we could see a big tease of that as early as tonight.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even be surprised if they cost him his cash in.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
the night that they officially pull the trigger and turn on him, when he cashes in and they just jump him and end the match as soon as the bell rings.
that would be insane.
Like, that would be like the most heartbreaking turn
Right.
ever, and you get a lot of sympathy on Priest.
Oh,
You cash
huge.
in, you look like you're locked to win, and
Yeah.
your own teammates cost you that match and beat you down. Like, that would be cold, man. That'd be cold. But I could see it happening. I think that might be the way they go.
Yeah. MK in the chat, AEW notes we're gonna get. Yeah, we'll get to that in just a minute. Brody and Eddie was meaty. Oh, it was. And Swerve and Jay will be fire. Yes, we'll talk about the Continental Classic in a minute. We got an injury update before that. But first, Ryan Johnson in the chat. When do you think Damian cashes in? I don't know. I mean, obviously, there are many opportunities with Seth Rollins, and I called it. I asked Matt, I go, do you think there'll be an attempt? There wasn't an official attempt, but that briefcase did come out on Saturday. Obviously Rollins is, they keep running that story that he's running thin, with the back and everything. So I don't know. But I like that idea. What a way to kick him out of the Judgment Day, though. Whew. Mark Cho saying that RKO looked like an all-stars finisher too. That was great. They just yeeted him right off the top of the cage.
Yeet. You all right? Your audio just went out, dude.
Did you hit something?
Are you better now?
Oh yeah, I
Okay,
heard
there
some
we go.
weird. Did you have some weird StreamYard song playing?
No,
Oh, I did. Okay, that was
your
weird.
audio, your audio and your end just kind of went out.
Yeah, like I adjusted my earbud and all of a sudden this weird song of a lady singing about StreamYard was playing. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
I
All right, let's
promise
move.
you that's not happening on my end.
Thank God,
Tell
because
the chat, say chat, tell him he's crazy.
that was the weirdest song ever. Let's go to some injury news. This just dropped this afternoon. Uh, by MJF. It was a tweet that was posted and deleted stating that he had torn his labrum after getting an MRI. Fightful has confirmed that they could not confirm themselves. They could, while they couldn't confirm that he got an MRI, he has told people at AEW that he believed he had torn his shoulder. He is still expected to compete at World's End and then undergoing treatment and hoping to avoid surgery. He has sustained the injury during Full Gear on the top rope Uranagi spot. He also sustained a hip injury during the elbow drop to the outside. So MJF, I think this almost solidifies Matt was already convinced there was going to be a title change at World's End. This almost solidifies it for Samoa Joe, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've been saying ever since the match got decided, Joe is taking the title at the end of the year because I think they want to play up the whole, oh no, is MJF going to leave and go somewhere else? And, if he has to go take some time off for an injury and he's off TV for a couple weeks into 2024, they can play and lean into all that. But I think he'll eventually come back and say, I've re-signed a new deal because I want to get my title back. But I still truly believe he re-signed a new multi-year deal a while ago, and
Yeah, me
they're
too.
keeping all that on the down low, and there's nothing wrong with that. So
And then do you think Adam Cole screws him at World's End?
I mean, that's when you got to do it. In
Yep.
my opinion, that's when you have to reveal. That's when you have to reveal the devil.
Yep.
It has to happen at World's End.
Yep.
I think all of this coming crashing down on MJF in Long Island
Yeah,
is kind of poetic justice,
it is. It
and
is.
it will be very interesting to see how he rebounds from that next year.
Moving on quickly before we get to Raw, the Continental Classic well underway with the Gold League happening on Dynamite and the Blue League happening on Collision over the past week here. John Moxley, hell of a match with Mark Briscoe to close out Monday Night Raw, close out Dynamite. Swerve Strickland and Roosh had a great opener, and Jay White took on Jay Lethal as well. So Moxley, Jay White, and Swerve all with 3 points, no ties at all either night. As Claudio Castagnoli defeated Danny Garcia on Saturday, as well as Brody King, a little upset against Eddie Kingston.
I
But I
think that was
kind
the
of
biggest upset of week one. Was
I
King
saw that
over
kind of
Kingston.
coming though, Matt. I think with Kingston putting all the titles on the line, he's going to start off slow and then work his way up to win the blue league. Now Danielson is the wild card because they're both in the blue league. I think Eddie still comes
I'm
out of
not
it
ruling out. I can't rule out Danielson winning the blue
at
league.
all.
We'll see how it goes. Look, the cool thing about the classic, there's so many AEW tournaments that they've run over the years where you look at the brackets and go, this is the finals and this is who's going to win, and they kind of telegraph it pretty badly.
Yeah.
There's at least 4 or 5 guys, if not
Oh
more,
yeah.
in this tournament that I can legitimately see coming out of this thing with the Triple Crown. So
I could see
I think that's what makes it exciting. So
I can see Garcia, I can see Danielson, I can see Eddie, I can see
I
Claudio.
can't see Garcia.
Yeah, I'd love to
I
see Mark Briscoe, but I don't think it's going to happen. Not with Moxley, White, and Strickland in the gold.
like you got Briscoe, Lethal, and Garcia are the 3 that I'm just like they don't have a chance. Kane has an outside shot, but I don't really see that being either. So then you've got the other 8 that I think are all strong contenders. A lot of people are
Yeah.
predicting that the Swerve White match on Dynamite this week will be the first draw of the
Mm,
Continental Classic.
yeah.
So, and I could
I'm ex-
absolutely see that happening. So,
And as Extreme Gamer said in the chat, having a legit G1 like tournament in the States is amazing. And it is, and it's already delivered with some great matches already early on, like the big upset with Brody King defeating Eddie Kingston on Saturday on Collision. That was pretty crazy. Let's get to one last thing before we go to let you know what's going to happen on Raw and also Dynamite this week. There has been some DLC announced, actually released on November 22nd on all platforms. The Acclaimed has arrived to AEW Fight Forever. But Matt, there's a little kind of
The communication from THQ Nordic to this community has been beyond abysmal. The communication that we've had since this game is released actually makes 2K look competent in their jobs and how they handle things with the WWE franchise. The fact that we have a Season 2 DLC, and the reason we know the contents of it already are thanks to data miners and modders who have been able to look into it on the PC version to find it. And all anybody else knows for sure is that the Acclaimed and the new Dynamite stage is in this Season 2 DLC for $25.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, unless they add in more, what we know right now, it's the Acclaimed, the new AEW Dynamite stage, which they could have easily given us skins for Collision, so we could have made our own Collision arena in there. The fact that we don't get that is ridiculous.
Right.
A new game mode called Beat the Elite, which is essentially just like a tower mode, like a Mortal Kombat tower.
A Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, exactly. And the final pack, which apparently, as of right now in the data mines, it's only Tony Storm. And it's not Timeless Tony Storm either. It's Outcast Tony Storm. So, like,
the word is Saraya got scanned. Possibly.
Well, a lot of people have gotten scanned, and there's a lot of opportunity for future content. But here's the problem: if you don't treat your community with respect, they're not going to respond in kind by giving you money to support your product.
No.
And I really hope that AEW sees what's going on between Ukes and THQ Nordic right now and has already made the decision as far as the sequel to AEW Fight Forever goes. When that starts development, I hope it's without Ukes. I hope it's without THQ Nordic, and I hope they go to a brand new team to continue it. They own the engine. They own everything that's been done with this game. They can literally hand this engine to another developmental company and have them continue and make a sequel. So right now, I'd like to me, if THQ Nordic doesn't change the way they're handling the community, I think it's time to up and leave them and Ukes behind for the sequel.
Before executive producer Dick Wolf writes us off, Dynamite, all that's announced so far are the Gold League matches: Briscoe and Roosh, Jay White and Swerve, Moxley and Lethal. And from Sean Ross Sapp at Fightful Select, Monday Night Raw, we got a Randy Orton promo. We got a Tag Team Turmoil top contender match for the women. I believe that's for the women. Cody Rhodes is going to do a promo. Oh, Bronson Reed and Ivar. There's going to be some.
It's a men's turmoil match.
Oh, is it? That's going to be. I thought they announced a women's one.
No, they did the women's match last week, and the men's turmoil
that's
tonight.
Right. Yeah, okay, that's right. Ivar and Bronson Reed. That's going to be a couple of sweaty men, and of course, it looks like closing out the night, CM Punk. So we're going to talk about it next week. Thank you for moving along with us to WrestleZone. Like I said, we'll be here every week leading up to Monday Night Raw, 7:10 Eastern, 6:10 Central. Matt, any final thoughts?
No, let's enjoy Raw tonight. Let's hope for another great week of professional wrestling, and we'll see you right back here next week at WrestleZone.
Hell yeah. Thanks for joining us on Lost in the Midcard. Have yourselves a great evening.